The photo you see here is a real image of the Martian surface taken by NASA's Mars rover, and it looks quite similar to some areas on Earth. Hello, everyone. This is Mystery Club. In this video, we'll follow the rover's perspective to see what it's like to stand on the Martian surface. Mars is the fourth planet from Earth in our solar system, and its orbit is outside Earth's orbit. Its average distance from Earth is about 225 million kilometers, roughly 600 times the distance between Earth and the Moon. However, because Earth and Mars orbit at different rates, their distance is constantly changing. During Mars's opposition, when it is closest to Earth, it is only about 55 million kilometers away, while at its farthest it can reach about 400 million kilometers. It takes 687 Earth days, or nearly 2 Earth years, to complete one orbit around the Sun. This is known as a Martian year. However, a Martian day is quite similar to an Earth day, approximately 24 hours and 39 minutes. Mars has a diameter of approximately 6,792 kilometers, only half the size of Earth, making it the second smallest planet in our solar system. Its mass is about 1/9 that of Earth. Its surface gravity is about 38% of Earth's, and its surface area is equivalent to the total land area of Earth. In addition, as we mentioned before, seasons are caused by the tilt of the planet's axis of rotation. Mars's axial tilt is approximately 25.19 degrees, very close to Earth's 23.5 degrees. So Mars also experiences spring, summer, autumn, and winter, just like Earth. However, because Mars takes nearly 2 years to orbit the Sun, each season on Mars is about twice as long as on Earth. In ancient times, both Eastern and Western people considered Mars an ominous star. So what exactly made Mars so ominous? It's related to its color. As you can see, Mars is one of the few planets in the night sky that glows red. People at that time didn't know why Mars was red, so they considered it unlucky. But modern science can easily explain this. The Martian soil contains a large amount of iron oxide, giving its surface a predominantly orange-red color. However, it wasn't until the invention of the telescope that people's understanding of Mars changed. In November 1659, Dutch astronomer Christian Huygens, while observing Mars, hand-drew several maps of the Martian surface. One of the drawings resembled an hourglass, which Huygens called the Hourglass Sea. He thought it might be an ocean or a green area, but it was actually what we now call the Great Celeste Plateau, a basalt plain with a diameter exceeding 1,300 kilometers. We can't blame Huygens's drawing skills. Given the observational technology of the time, depicting the features of the Martian surface was already quite impressive. Later, at the end of the 17th century, Huygens used his improved telescope to discover large white patches at the Martian north and south poles, which he called polar caps, essentially ice caps on Mars. By the 18th century, astronomers were able to accurately measure the size of Mars, the tilt of its axis of rotation, and even discovered that Mars has an atmosphere, clouds, and seasonal changes like Earth, making it very similar to Earth. By the mid to late 19th century, telescopes had higher resolution, allowing astronomers to observe the Martian landscape in greater detail. One of the most famous astronomers was the Italian astronomer Giovanni Schiaparelli, who discovered dark lines on the Martian surface, some as wide as 120 kilometers and over 4,800 kilometers long. He speculated that these might be Martian streams or rivers, and named them waterways in Italian. However, during the translation into English, this word was mistakenly translated as canals. This led to a misunderstanding. At the time, canals appeared man-made, raising the question, could there be intelligent life on Mars? Many began to speculate that Martians might have their own civilization and even cities. This idea was further popularized by the astronomer and mathematician Percival Lowell. In 1894, Lowell also saw the lines Schiaparelli described through a telescope and became convinced that they were indeed man-made canals. So he wrote a book in which he claimed that Martian civilization was more advanced than Earth's because they were able to build such a large water system. They not only dug canals, but also used the canals and oases for agriculture. It was this book that brought the term Martians into the public eye. In 1897, an author named George H.W. Wells published a science fiction novel about Mars called The War of the Worlds. This War of the Worlds wasn't about World War I or II, but rather a story of Martians invading Earth, The Martians in the novel possessed intelligence and advanced weaponry far surpassing that of humans. Because Mars's gravity is much weaker than Earth's, the Martians depicted in the book had very thin legs, resembling long-legged octopus creatures. Their high intelligence was reflected in their large heads. In 1938, the novel was adapted into a radio drama and broadcast in the United States. Many Americans at the time believed it was real, that aliens had actually attacked New York, leading to one of the most widespread panic events in American history. So, did Martians actually exist? Scientists believed it was highly unlikely, but with the technology of the time, they lacked any evidence to prove their non-existence. Therefore, it wasn't until the advent of probes, the arrival of the space age, that humanity truly saw Mars clearly. In 1960, the Soviet Union launched the first Mars probes in human history, codenamed Project Mars-NIC. This mission included two probes, Mars-NIC-1 and Mars-NIC-2. Unfortunately, both launches failed. The first launch failed shortly after liftoff, resulting in a crash in Siberia. The second launch went out of control mid-flight and disintegrated in the atmosphere. However, failures are normal in space exploration. All major spacefaring nations have experienced various failures. It was simply that the US-Soviet space race was underway, leading to the Soviet Union's defeat. On November 28, 1964, NASA successfully launched Mariner 4, the first Mars probe to fly past Mars and take photographs. It captured 22 images, giving us our first close-up view of the Martian surface. Interestingly, the first photograph of Mars was a colored crayon drawing. In 1965, Mariner 4 sent back the first set of Martian image data during its first flyby. Back then, there were no high-resolution color photographs like we have today. The probes transmitted strings of numerical codes, which needed to be converted into rows of numbers by a real-time message translator and printed line by line onto paper tape. At the time, it took about 8 hours for a computer to process each image. NASA engineers were incredibly excited and couldn't wait for the computer processing, so they pasted the numbered strips of paper side by side on a wall, each number corresponding to a color, and then hand-colored the numbers, like playing a coloring game. In this way, the first photograph of Mars in human history wasn't rendered on a computer, but painstakingly drawn by a group of engineers with colored pens. Besides the photographs, Mariner 4 also explored Mars's atmosphere and magnetic field. Overall, Mariner 4's findings largely debunked the myths of Martian inhabitants. Compared to Earth, Mars has a thinner atmosphere, its surface is similar to the Moon, with many impact craters, a desolate landscape, and no signs of life were found. Launching probes to Mars isn't possible at any time. To conserve fuel and time, we must wait until Earth and Mars are in optimal alignment. This opportunity occurs approximately every 26 months. In 1971, Earth entered another launch window for Mars exploration. Within this short 21-day window, the United States and the Soviet Union launched a total of 5 probes orbiting Mars. The Soviet probes were Mars 2, Mars 3, and Cosmos 419, while the American probes were Mariner 8 and Mariner 9. All 5 probes flew towards Mars. On October 14, 1971, the American Mariner 9 probe was the first to enter Mars orbit. A few days later, the Soviet Union's Mars 2 and Mars 3 probes also successfully entered Mars orbit. Ultimately, only these 3 probes successfully entered orbit. However, during their subsequent explorations, both the American and Soviet probes encountered a problem. Large-scale dust storms on the Martian surface Mars has a very thin atmosphere, resulting in extremely extreme temperatures. Imagine a person standing on the Martian surface during the day. The surface temperature beneath their feet might reach over 20 degrees Celsius, but just a meter above the ground, such as at their head, the air temperature could be tens of degrees below zero. It is this extreme temperature difference that triggers Martian dust storms. Martian dust storms are terrifying. Wind speeds can reach 180 meters per second, equivalent to a Category 12 hurricane on Earth, and a single dust storm can last for months. All 3 probes persisted until the dust storm subsided. Mariner 9, in particular, performed exceptionally well, capturing and transmitting 7,329 images of the Martian surface, covering 85% of the Martian surface. It photographed massive volcanoes, canyons, and even Mars moons. From then on, humanity's understanding of Mars reached a new level. However, we could still only observe Mars from afar through photographs scientists hoped that a probe could land on Mars. So, with this expectation, 2 years later, humanity awaited the Mars launch window in 1973. In 1973, the Soviet Union launched 4 Mars probes in quick succession: Mars 4, Mars 5, Mars 6, and Mars 7. The fates of these 4 probes differed greatly. Mars 4 disappeared before even reaching orbit. Mars 5 successfully entered orbit but malfunctioned 9 days later and lost contact. Mars 7 lost contact with the Soviet Union during its landing attempt and most likely crashed on Mars. Therefore, of the 4 probes, only Mars 6 successfully landed on the Martian surface, but lost contact just 1 second later, meaning it lost contact almost immediately after landing. So would you consider this a success or a failure? On one hand, it did land on the Martian surface. On the other hand, it did nothing before losing contact. So after all that effort, none of the 4 probes launched by the Soviet Union were satisfactory. So what was the United States doing at the same time? They did nothing but wait for the 1975 launch window. In 1975, the United States launched Viking 1 and Viking 2, both of which successfully landed on the Martian surface. Humanity was finally able to conduct on-site exploration of Mars. Minutes after landing, Viking 1 took and transmitted back an image of the Martian surface. Humanity's understanding of Mars's topography and atmosphere grew significantly. From then on, the Soviet Union gradually withdrew from the Mars exploration race. After the Soviet withdrawal, the United States exploration of Mars also became less active. This wasn't because the US lacked enthusiasm for Mars exploration, but rather because without competition, the pressure was less intense. At this point, their focus shifted from who was faster or who reached Mars first to how to obtain truly scientifically valuable information. Therefore, human exploration of Mars entered a period of relative quiet. Until 1998, NASA launched another probe. This probe, called Mars Global Surveyor, carried numerous measuring instruments and surveyed the entire Martian surface. It made a crucial discovery. Numerous channels formed by water erosion were found on the Martian surface, channels that were mistakenly thought to be canals a century earlier. This indicated that liquid water may have once flowed on Mars.